TNA have a couple of controversies, an update on Matt Cardona / Zack Ryder's WWE return, Goldberg walks out on a fan signing, and more. I'm Luke Owen and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe.
I don't want this to sound like a brag, but I get sent a lot of DMs on Instagram. Go follow me if you haven't already. Usually the stuff I get sent is about Limp Bizkit or the 90s / early 2000s because Daddy has a brand, but I also get sent a fair amount of wrestling stuff. Not a huge amount of it grabs my attention, I'll be honest with you, but one did a couple of weeks back when Adam Kirkup released a folk song that was all built around the Jim Ross commentary for the famous Hell in a Cell match between Mankind and The Undertaker from King of the Ring 1998. Here is a snippet of Hell is in Pittsburgh Tonight.
Technically, you can make a song about The Undertaker versus Mankind 1998 Hell in a Cell match using only commentary from the match as the lyrics for the song. You can. Whether you should, who knows? In this warm summer's night, there's a chill in the air. Hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. His scarred body is missing right ear. Hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. He was born Mick Foley in Long Island, New York. Hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. When he gets in that steel, he'll feel right at home. Oh, hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. What is he doing? Who knows what he's thinking? Well, hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. This could be an omen. He's climbing, he's climbing. Hell is in Pittsburgh tonight. Ooh, good God Almighty, that killed him. As God is my witness, he's broken in half.
It's a great track to hear on Instagram. It's an even better one to hear on your music platform of choice, which you can do today. This isn't paid promotion, by the way. I just want to do my bit for non-AI generated, actual talented musicians and music, and also because he's laid out the challenge that if the song gets over 100,000 streams, he will get a Mick Foley themed tattoo. You can find him on all social media platforms as Adam Kirkup, and he also has a song based around the commentary for Rock vs. Steve Austin from WrestleMania 19. It's absolutely superb. Anyway, enough of that spit, it's time to lol TNA. I said on the WrestleTalk News last week, not once, not thrice, but twice, that the brand name of TNA was probably at the highest point it's been since 2010 when it was killed by Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. Thanks to the partnership with WWE, TNA have seen much bigger attendance figures for their big shows like Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, and wrestlers appearing on NXT have made big names out of the likes of Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and more. Dan Layton and myself even did a WrestleTalk podcast episode on Friday talking about Chris Jericho's frankly preposterous claims that TNA should be considered the second biggest wrestling promotion on the planet. The problem was we recorded that podcast on Thursday. And that bit us right in the keister as Thursday night saw TNA book Mike Santana to lose his TNA Championship, the title he won at Bound for Glory just a few weeks earlier, to Frankie Kazarian, who cashed in his Call Your Shot. It was a shocking title switch, not the least of which because Santana had just won it, but also because many people, myself included, felt Santana should have won the thing earlier in the year at Slammiversary when he was at the peak of his popularity. Fans were pissed, and even people who have relationships with TNA, like Bully Ray, who competed for them at Bound for Glory, called it out on Busted Open Radio. It's truly lol TNA territory. But then things became a little clearer on Friday, as it was reported by PW Insider that Santana's contract was coming to an end with TNA and he was heading to WWE, noting that the title loss was done to facilitate his move to NXT. And then things got really cloudy as reports started coming out that Santana had no show to fan meet and greet, was refusing contact from TNA, and wasn't backstage for Turning Point on Friday night, where he was scheduled to tag with Steve Maclin to take on Nick Nemeth and Kazarian. It was reported TNA executives were unavailable for comment, but said tonight's Turning Point main event is now in doubt. It was insinuated that Santana was so upset about being booked to lose his world title so soon after winning it, and there was even some speculation that Santana, who had just celebrated 1,000 days sober, had broken his sobriety. But while there were several outlets that ran this story, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select posted to Blue Sky, TNA is trying to work an angle around Santana and the unhappiness from fans. They're claiming he isn't at the tapings and TNA officials haven't heard from him. It called to mind the situation at AEW Double or Nothing 2022, when it was reported that MJF had booked a flight home instead of doing his scheduled wrestling match with Wardlow. MJF did do that match, and the following week on Dynamite cut a scathing promo on Tony Khan that saw him taken off TV for months until he returned at All Out in his new Devil gimmick. The difference between the two situations is that the MJF one was a shoot that became a work. I've been told by people I have a lot of trust in that MJF did legit buy a plane ticket, but then things were smoothed over and they turned it into an angle. This Santana one here, though, at least according to SRS, was a work from the very beginning. And it would appear that Sean was correct, as Mike Santana ran in during the main event tag match and pinned Kazarian to win before all the TNA stars were laid out by members of the NXT roster, including Lexus King and Brooks Jensen. Now, wrestling companies doing work shoots is not all that uncommon. As noted before, the MJF situation became a worked shoot. But where things get murky is where the information came from. Sean Ross Sapp has posted a lengthy post to Fightful Select where he writes, "At no point in my career before November 14th did I have an official, exec, or PR representative from any wrestling company provide myself info to advance a storyline while pretending it was real." He goes on to say that people in those positions will tell him when things like this happen, it is a work. He adds that of course wrestling promoters reach out to leak information, but he's never had officials or execs from a company reach out to tell him something is real when it isn't. In other words, his platform has never been used by a wrestling company to work fans and further a storyline on TV. He writes, TNA officials were providing that info. They wanted it out and it got out. They wanted to work some sort of unusual multi-layered angle that implied that Mike Santana, one of the most responsible, hard-working and professional guys in wrestling, no-showed a meet and greet and blew off TNA because he was mad that they booked him to lose his TNA World title in a scripted match. He adds that false information fed to wrestling journalists, i.e. WrestleMania plans, etc., can often be filtered out by verifying it with other sources. But crucially, that false info never comes from officials or executives. He adds, I know that's hard for many wrestling fans to believe, especially when places like WWE have a very odd front-facing, don't believe the internet dirt sheets attitude on screen and a cordial relationship most other times. To further the work, Santana was even pulled from a scheduled interview that day with Pro Wrestling Illustrated. SRS writes, so not only did the official actively try to work one of the most respected publications in wrestling history in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, they took away content they'd planned for as a result. He concludes this was an irresponsible, weird violation of trust by an official in pro wrestling. What do you make of all of this? I appreciate it's not news that everyone will be interested in, but I am curious to hear your takes on it. TNA doing an angle to work fans with Mike Santana isn't a bad idea really, following the backlash to the title loss, but perhaps they did go about it the wrong way. I also find that this story being tied into Santana's real-life sobriety a bit icky. And sadly, the bad PR for TNA didn't end there, as at a TV taping last night, a fan revealed they were kicked out of the building. Jacob Cohen has a sizable following on Twitter as he attends shows and posts pictures from TV tapings, like Scoop number 4, Santana out. He made his intentions clear. He's going to eliminate the NXT invaders one by one, then he's coming for Frankie Kazarian and the TNA World title. Or Scoop number 14, the winners of the 2 4-way matches against each other, presumably for a knockout title shot at Final Resolution. Some people see this as spoilers, others just see it as a fan going to a wrestling show and posting the things that they see. Crucially, he never posts results, just the matches that are being taped. But TNA clearly saw this as the former, as Jacob posted to Twitter, just to let everyone know, I have been asked by TNA management to leave the show tonight. There was a belief that I was filming the show. I showed them I was not. They returned and asked me to leave anyways. Wasn't allowed to talk to anyone further, so that's all from me tonight. He added in another tweet, added bonus, I was told I will not be receiving a refund. When a TNA fan posted that a lot of people were making a lot of speculation about the real reason Jacob was kicked out, Sean Ross Sapp replied, I was told very specifically it's because they claim he was taking videos. So I do know the real reason. But in some good news for TNA, John Alba of Sports Illustrated is reporting that a new challenger has entered the game for the TV rights for TNA Impact. TNA president Carlos Silva has been very open and honest about the company looking to get a bigger and better TV deal than the one they currently have, feeling they need to get onto a bigger platform if they're ever going to grow and truly capitalize on the relationship with WWE. There's even reports that WWE have been trying to help TNA get a new TV deal, potentially to air them on Thursday night against AEW Dynamite. Two of the channels that have shown interest in TNA is the CW and A&E, both of which have an affiliation with WWE, but Alba reports that AMC has emerged as a landing spot for Impact, which would be significant as they have no ties to WWE. Alba writes, while no network can avoid the trend of cord cutting, a deal with AMC would present a substantial increase in potential eyes for the TNA product, highlighting that AMC would essentially double their potential audience size. He adds, it is not known at this time whether a potential deal with AMC or any other interested partner would include changing nights, or if the company would continue to broadcast its signature program on Thursday nights. Speaking of TNA, and one of its stars appeared on this past Friday SmackDown as part of the Last Time Is Now tournament to win the right to face John Cena in his final match. When the tournament was announced, WWE said it would feature stars from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and even some faces from other companies. While that led to some flights of fancy speculation from fans that we'll see Chris Jericho or Edge in the tournament, the more level-headed folks said it will likely be Matt Cardona and Joe Hendry. Solo Sikoa will be facing one of the surprise entrants on tonight's Raw, but Friday SmackDown saw LA Knight took on the other one, a returning Matt Cardona under his WWE name, Zack Ryder. Ryder was one of those names in WWE that was, essentially, punished for getting over. He launched this YouTube channel where he posted a series of skits called Z True Long Island Story that got so over with the hardcore fan base that Ryder suddenly became one of the most over people in WWE, with chants of "We Want Ryder" being used to sabotage matches. WWE reluctantly put him on TV, but he was made to look like a geek wherever possible. Fun fact, it wasn't until WrestleMania 32 that his entrance theme was played for the first time at WrestleMania, and then he won the title of that show and lost it the next night on Raw. His return to WWE did signal some speculation that he's re-signed with the company. Not only does his wife Chelsea Green work there, but WWE Shop uploaded a t-shirt to the store for pre-order. However, according to Fightful Select, we confirmed with Matt Cardona and WWE that he isn't signed to WWE, and for now the appearance is a one-off. WWE sources confirmed that there is a merchandise deal, which is why you saw Zack Ryder merchandise hit the website. They don't have an update on why he used the Zack Ryder name rather than the Matt Cardona name he uses on the indies, but I think it's fairly obvious. The large majority of the WWE audience don't know who Matt Cardona is, but do remember who Zack Ryder is. Lastly today, and K&S WrestleFest have claimed that Goldberg walked out on a fan signing event that he was advertised for. They posted to Facebook, "We had all our items laid out ready to sign as Goldberg was doing another private for another vendor. After he was done, he got up and said he was done. He walked past our stuff and left. We are all super disappointed and frustrated. My apologies to all." But that other vendor, Tom Unger, who runs Big Event NY, has now chimed in with their 2 cents to set the record straight, posting to a Facebook comment that called Goldberg a jackass. No, he wasn't. He signed for fans for 5 hours straight. Ken of K&S WrestleFest wasn't guaranteed anything. I told him if we had time, we would get your items done. He shouldn't be posting this all over like the victim. This was my deal and my customers come first. Shouldn't have taken mail order from all of you, not knowing if it was going to get done. It's Survivor Series War Games coming up soon, so you know what that means. It's the return of 3 Count. Ollie and I predict the show and the people in it in 3 words or less / fewer.